Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the new college AP pool that just got wrapped up week 5, and now that week 6 is here, we are looking at a new AP pool that, with all the changes saw this last week, it might be the craziest we've seen this season, so I'm excited to talk about this. Just like Missouri almost beat number 1 Georgia, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, Missouri was losing to FCS schools this non-conference time of the year, but now they're out here beating Georgia almost. That just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, that's somehow not the weirdest thing I saw this Saturday, but I think we should just dive into the new rankings. Alright, now looking at the AP pool, we got Alabama moving up to 1 because Georgia struggled so heavily with Missouri. It just makes sense. And, I mean, Alabama played pretty good against Arkansas, winning 49-26. It really wasn't a close game. They started up 28-0, I think, at the start of the first half. It just makes sense now that they're moving up to 1. Ohio State at 2. Really nothing to worry about. Playing Rutgers really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. I mean, it's Rutgers. This is where you get to see a little bit of movement, where Michigan and Clemson both stay, and so does USC. They all stay from 4 to 6. Still the same. Probably would have liked to see, Michigan and Clemson were a little shaky for most parts of the game, but we're ending up closing it out. And USC was the team that I absolutely saw the best in, winning by 17. I mean, they didn't struggle at all, really. USC was just the team to beat in the Pac-12 right now. Oklahoma State beat Baylor, probably the best win out of any of these top 10 teams this week. Probably had the hardest game. Baylor, maybe Ole Miss had a tougher game, but Kentucky really, it's Kentucky, so I'm not really too worried about them. Then we get number 8 is Tennessee, who only beat Florida by 5, but Florida's a good team too, so not that. Florida's not going to be good enough to be on the rankings. I don't think they're a top 25 team, Florida, but they're definitely a good team. They're an SEC team, so they're going to be at least decent. But do Tennessee have a shot to win the West? Do they have a shot to beat Georgia and win the West this year? I don't think so, but I'd like to see it. Tennessee is a really good team so far, what we've seen. I think they are a top 10 team. I think they got to get through Bama, and they still got to play Georgia, so it's not looking too good for them, though. Then we go number 9 is Ole Miss, going up 5 spots this week, beating Kentucky by 3 points. Played a really good game. Ole Miss, I was a little worried because Desmond Ridder isn't there anymore, but they found a new guy that's going to take over. And, look at them now. They're 5-0. They're number 9 in the country, and they're off to a hot start. That's what you like to see if you're an Ole Miss fan. Number 10, we got Penn State, only winning by 10 against Northwestern, but the defense only allowed 7 points. I would be a lot more worried if it wasn't as dominant of a defensive game, but Penn State played pretty good. I would have liked to see a little bit more from Sean Clifford, but, it doesn't hurt them that much, but next week's going to be a good week for Penn State, where we'll figure out a lot more about their team. Moving on to the next slide of teams, we have number 11 and 12 I want to talk about together. Utah and Oregon, both were the divisional front runners at the start of the year for the Pac-12, but now neither of them are the front runners for the Pac-12 championship. Stanford versus Oregon was a decent game, but Oregon State got absolutely blown out by Utah. That's what you like to see. They've won 4 straight now ever since losing to Florida in the swamp. And then Oregon's pretty much done the same thing after losing to Georgia, though. It's been going all right for these two teams. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Oregon personally, and Utah keep playing the way they will. I can't wait for that USC versus Utah game. That is going to be such a great game. Number 13, we got Kentucky moving down 6 spots from the 3-point loss to Ole Miss. Well, Kentucky is 4-1. They'll probably not have that much of a shot to win the West anymore. Georgia and Tennessee pretty much have that locked down, but I think they have 3rd place probably locked down. But you never know. It could surprise some people. They got Georgia coming up in a couple of weeks, and Tennessee is one of the last games of the season on their schedule. Losing North Carolina State, actually, losing by 10 to Clemson. Tough loss. I think a lot of North Carolina State fans thought they had a shot, but NC State really pulled together a good win. Pulled together a good game. They didn't win that game, but if they would have, that would have been a great game. And, NC State's a really good team. I would like to see a little bit more out of them, but I don't think NC State fans are that mad. Number 15, we got the Demon Deacons, Wake Forest, 4-1. Off a good win against Florida State this week, beating a ranked opponent, losing to Clemson last week. shouldn't be that bad. I mean, Clemson's a good team. Florida State seems to be a decent team this year. Probably not that good, but they were able to be in the top 25 last week. BYU 4-1, independent school, only beating Utah State by 12, but went up 3. I don't really understand that one. I think BYU is super overrated. I think they should be 22, 23 range, but 16 just seems a lot too high for me. Number 17, TCU, 4-0, just beat Oklahoma. They destroyed Oklahoma. What was that, 31-point victory? I mean, TCU might be a sleeper team to go ahead and win the Big 12. Number 18, UCLA, still undefeated. I think they're one of 2 undefeated teams still in the Pac-12, them and USC. They could give USC a good fight in a couple weeks, but beating a ranked opponent like Washington by 12 looks really solid. Good win for UCLA. Let's move on to my favorite team to talk about. Number 19, Kansas. The Jayhawks are finally ranked. They only beat Iowa State by 3, but if you're 5-0, you should be ranked right now. If you're 5-0, you should be ranked right now. Good win. They beat teams like Houston. They beat West Virginia. They're still undefeated. This could be the best Kansas football team we've seen in I don't know how long. This is a really solid team. They were not ranked. They jumped in front of Kansas State this week, who went up 5 and is right behind them at number 20. Kansas State looking like a good team. Not good enough to be in the top 3 for the Big 10 or Big 12. They're not good enough to be in there, but they're moving up the ranks. Their only problem right now is their defense. They don't seem to have that strong of defense, but they beat Oklahoma last week, even with most of their defensive stars out. You'll love to see it go Kansas State. Number 21, Washington, the most overrated team in college football right now. Shouldn't be ranked after a 12-point loss to UCLA. I mean, what were they ranked last week? 15. I would have pushed them out of the top 25, but still having them at 21 doesn't make a lot of sense. And another team that I'm happy is in here is Syracuse. 5-0 start teams should all be in here right now. And, I mean, they just blew out Wagner 49-0, so I don't know. I mean, it's a good win. Not that great, though. Number 23, Mississippi State should be a lot higher. They just destroyed Texas A&M by 18, destroying the spread. If anyone took them in this game, good for you. You got your profit down. Number 24, Cincinnati. I mean, they played Tulsa. They won by 10. I'm not really interested in Cincinnati. I mean, they just don't have that solid of a team. I mean, it's a solid team, but, like, I don't think they'll win the American Conference Championship again this year. I think that'll go to Houston. And 25, LSU. Beat Auburn by 4. Good for them. They're 4-1. Maybe LSU can be better than they are last year. I think they will be. I think they'll go 7-5. We'll see what the rankings look like next week, if they're in it or not. I'm going to just go through some of the other teams who got votes. You got Washington State had 91. Baylor had 88. Florida State had 78. Arkansas had 76. James Madison had 39. Florida had 37. Maryland had 25. Coastal Carolina with 17. Minnesota with 14. Tulane with 9. Illinois with 10. What is that? North Carolina with 5. Texas A&M with 4. Purdue with 2. And Oklahoma also with 2. So those are all the teams that received votes. Tell me what you think of the top 25 rankings in the comments down below. I think they're pretty solid overall rather than a couple mistakes. AP pool is normally pretty good. Maybe I'll make a video on the coaches pool when that comes out. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.